Hi there, this is Charlie. I am at My Messy Fingers. You can find me on my YouTube channel called My Messy Fingers. I have finally got around to playing with a collection that I bought for myself quite some time ago, but I was really struggling with how to tell the story and how to play with this paper. So I finally broke down and did it. This is Stamperia's Magic Forest. Now I know it's been out a while, but it's still a beautiful collection of paper, and I wanted to get an album made. That was my version. Now the album is huge. It's a chunk. It's 10 by 10, and we've got a 2 3/4 inch spine. And it holds 8 signatures, 6 in the center, and then the front and back panels. And you can see by this, they're full signatures. It is a beast. But I enjoyed making it. And the reason it's so big is because I really wanted to play with these large images and not cut them back too much. So on the front of this, I have the ephemera pieces. I think you can see a little bit of a shine. And then the eagle. And then I use the word imagination up here. From the sayings sheet, I cut this out. I used a tag with the castle to put it in behind there. And then there was one floral, I want to call it a floral piece that was in there. So I treated it as a flower and then backed it with some ephemera leaves. Now the spine is covered in a leather-like material, and I thought that it would look great against all the greens on this. It was a bit of a challenge. It didn't matter how careful I was when I cut this, putting it on, and I had to put it on with 3-in-1 glue. But it slides, the 3-in-1 glue slid, but this also, not being a firm piece of leather, moved around a little bit. So everything was kind of off about 1/16 of an inch at a slant one way or another. So it took me quite a bit to position and get this on there. So if you're going to do something like this, be aware of that. I put nothing on the spine. I think the spine is just beautiful all by itself. And then I used a big forest sheet here on the back. And the saying here is, the forest is filled with magic and secrets. I used brown lace as my tie. And then we're going to get over here, get into this one here. I tried my best that every 12 by 12 that I cut, that I was using both halves. And I wanted this picture here, this side of the paper here, to be my face picture because it says Adventures in the Forest. So I was trying to tell a story as we go. I don't know that you can see it, but I did use Wink Stella down here on the floral, and then gold stickles here and here. And then on this I used red stickles. And then an ephemera, and then a chipboard piece. And then on this side, I didn't do anything at all. Excuse me. But I did put in a double layer pocket here. There is a tuck. And then on this side, there is another pocket. And I used a die that I have to create an element so that you could see these where the edges are a little bit better, because this brown kind of blends a little bit. On this page, again, each side is off of 1/12 by 12. I did have to cut her down a little bit. Unfortunately, she lost her toes, but got the main feature of her in here. She's on the hunt through the map to find the lake, the mountain, and the castle. And I use some glossy accents on a gems that she has here. And then when you open this up, I did use some Wink Estella. You can see it in person, but it's hard to see it, I think, on the film, on the large letters here. Over here, we have a nice tuck with room to still put in a decent size photo. Here we have a tuck and a pocket. And then this was one of the pieces that was cut when I was doing one of the other pages, and so I thought I would trim it back and mount it onto cardstock and treat it as a tuck. And then big pull-outs, just one side fully covered, the other side with just an accent. And I did use matching ribbon as my pull. I don't know that they're going to remain permanent because they're only taped in. And then we're going to get over here to this side. Splitting the castle was fun, but I wanted her to look like she was looking back at the castle, and so I put this big this is a chipboard piece on here. And I cut off more on this side of the paper in order to fit both these in here. And then when you open this up, we have a nice place for putting a photo. Here we have a tuck. Open it up further. We have another tuck over here. And I used the ephemera pieces up here in these corners, and the ephemera pieces you can treat as a tuck as well. Nice big images that if you put a photo here, you're still gonna see a lot of the images, and they will make for great accents behind a photo. And here we have a pocket. I put in a chipboard piece, Always Believe in Magic, and then backed it with some of the ephemera leaves. And then over here, again, these two pieces are off of one cut. I really wanted to play with this door. It's such a striking image, kind of a statement piece. So I had a bunch of these that I bought from Prima, from one of their previous designers, and so I decided I was going to try to use this as a door pull. I did put in a magnet. Let me get this over here so you can see, and I'm not worried about covering it up. The opposing magnet's hidden here. And then here is the big ephemera piece of her inside the door, backed by a piece of matching paper. Now, all I did on the paper was I pulled up a corner of it, and from the corner I traced around. I wasn't going to waste a big bunch of paper on placing this in here, so I just used enough that it was going to take to cover this. And then here's this pull out. Again, just a simple back on the reverse side. Lots of room for photos on these. They're pretty large. Okay, then we get in here, and on this, again, these two are off the same cutting. This is off of a cutout off of one of the sayings sheets. Now, I had two, so I cut one leaving the brown, and I cut one removing the brown and backing it on matching cardstock. And this was absolutely the most striking way to leave it. It really allows it to stand out, and it captures your eye when you open up to this page. The griffin down here, I very carefully cut in and around his image, and both of these are raised up on some black chipboard that I have. So then when you open this up, this was the other side. And then you opened up here. On this big panel, we have the deer. I used some red stickles on the berries. It's a tuck for those smaller items maybe. And then you have a pocket, and you can still put in a photo. And these will hold some pretty good sized photos. Over here we have a pocket, and we have a tuck, and you still have room for a photo. And again, I left these alone. The images are beautiful. They're outstanding. They would make a great backdrop to a picture. Now this page I was counting the amount of paper I was going to have to get through this build. And this page, I did something I've never done before. So it was another challenge, a learning curve. First, let me tell you that I took the chipboard griffin, mounted it with some ephemera leaves, and then used the ephemera statement up here. But what I did with this was one piece. I cut this piece off of this. I just cut it off. And then I backed it onto cardstock, and then I had to turn it over, and across the top here and across the bottom, I taped it back on so that it was just barely over the blue edge. And then when I put it onto the page, I actually had to glue down this entire piece so that it would stay attached to the page itself, and then allow me to come in and make a pocket out of it. But that right there saved a sheet of paper doing it this way. It's a challenge, but I got it done. Okay, and then over here, this is another one of those big images that I just struggle with cutting into. So I decided she would be my focal point on this particular signature, because as we're going through the story, this is where she's trying to end up, is at the lake, the mountain, the waterfall, the elven river, the elven lake. So I very carefully came in and I cut her out. I mounted her on black chipboard so that I could get her up off this page. And by darkening her edges, and I used walnut stain from the Distress collection from Tim Holtz. By darkening that, I created a bit of a shadow in and around her, so it looks like she's actually up off the page and looking back at the mountain and the waterfall. I used some Wink Stella here on the little floral. I put some glossy accents on the two pearls here, her eye and the gem. And then I came in here with the Wink Stella, and I don't know if you can see her or not. I don't think you can. But I used the Wink Stella in and around this shoulder element on her. The chipboard piece, the magic is in you. So then when you open this up, this piece, to best of my collection, was, no, it's too big. This was a standalone piece that I decided I was going to come in and use with this, because this took up quite a bit. There was only a bit of a strip left. And I did come up 1 3/8 of an inch off the bottom and 1 3/8 of an inch off the top in order to get her centered in there. And here's the map that she's been following. And we have a nice tuck here. And then you open this up and you have a nice spot over here for photo. We have a pocket, place for a photo. We have another pocket and a place for a photo. A place for a photo. I love these elements down here. And then this one. And then you have a big pocket here. This is an ephemera piece. And then I took Wink Stella to the ivy leaves right here. I wish you could see those. It's so pretty. Okay. And then we have, this is where she's after, is in this, the elven castle. And again, just a strip on the back side. It connects with some of the chipboard pieces and it doesn't want to go all the way through. So now we're getting to where she's finally come upon the lake, the mountain, the river, the waterfall. And what I did here was I took again off that sayings sheet. I left the brown edge. I accented with some Wink Stella and then used the ephemera piece down here. I cut more to this side over here than I did this. I didn't want to lose any of the foliage. And then when you open this up, you have some beautiful green panels that would make beautiful accents for some photos. And then I took the cutout cards and created photo mats out of them. And then here, going through my scraps, I came across this piece, and to me it was kind of a statement piece, so I decided he was going to be right smack in the middle of things. And it is a tuck on both sides. And then last is the elegant deer. He's just striking. He's just a big, massive statement piece. So I did cut this piece from this, so they're off the same 12 by 12. And I did my best to trim up past his rack here. And then when you open it up on the inside, we have a tag with, that's a tuck. I took the ephemera piece of the castle and taped it down here as a tuck, and you still have lots of room here for a photo. And there is a nice pocket with one of the chipboard pieces, and it says magic spell here on this piece. And then she is a nice tuck, and you still have room to put in a decent sized photo. Probably not as big as this card, but you can still get a photo in here. And then I did cover all the gussets throughout so that you weren't looking at all this light brown. The other thing that I did on this album that I will never do again, and I will not encourage that you do it, I had a 3 o'clock in the morning brainstorm that wouldn't this look pretty if I rounded these corners rather than them being the typical straight corner and then only rounding these here. Well, it doesn't work so well because that means you are constantly having to adjust and round everything that's going to connect. And because some of these are at a 1/4 inch gusset and some are at 5/8 of an inch gusset, it was really hard to match up top to bottom and to get them straight. So I ended up having to do a lot of hand cutting to finish the rounding on these. In principle, it sounded like a great idea, and the end results looks good, but it was a bit of a work of art to get this done throughout this album. So again, I got it done, but I would not encourage someone else to do it. So if you're going to make this album, do not round these corners. Just keep them square, and then maybe just consider rounding all the pages that are inside the signature. But there you have it, Stamperia's Magic Forest. You can find the entire playlist to make this over on my channel at My Messy Fingers, and I'll try and put the link for that playlist in the description fields. Thank you for viewing. I'll see you on the next one.